Alright, we're finally at day 30 of Muscle Music, a series in which I pick an album from this filter, work out to it, and give it a review. And I only do albums I've never listened to before. I love that album. I did that for episode 6 or so. That's a great album. One of my favorites I've listened to this year. Probably out of this series, too. This is embarrassing. I've never listened to Purple Rain. I'm sorry. Let's do it, though. All right, we're back. I decided to play some basketball today just to mix it up a little bit. So here are my thoughts on Purple Rain by Prince. So I don't know how I've never listened to this album before. Obviously, I know Prince. I know the legend of Prince and just how otherworldly he is. And obviously, I've heard the big singles off of this, Purple Rain and When Doves Cry. I think those are the two really big ones. But there's a lot of really good hidden gems on this album. And yeah, it's just amazing. So this album came out in 1984, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it also was accompanied by a movie or a film of the same name. I think it was actually the soundtrack for the movie, so I'm not sure which one came first, but if it is considered a soundtrack, it's got to be one of the best soundtracks of all time. And what's really interesting about that is that when I was listening to this album, playing some basketball, it sounded like I was in the mind of someone going through like an 80s movie. Like with the opener, it felt like it was like the opening scene of like a school, and like you were walking down the aisles and like people are throwing papers and, you know, shooting spitballs and all this other stuff. So it feels really grandiose and you're like almost picturesque. Then you have tracks like Computer Blue, which sound like this, you know, synthetic, like, racing scene with like your arch rival or something. Then obviously you have the grandiose and epic closing track, which is Purple Rain, which is one of the only songs I heard on this, before this. And it's just so orchestral, ornate. You got these strings at the very end. It's so grand. It's like one of the best closing tracks of all time. It just feels like the credits are starting to roll a little bit. It almost sounds like I'm listening into like an alternate universe as to where like music splits off from the 80s and becomes a bit more like rock oriented, but still has these cool pop aesthetics with all these synthesizers and kind of funk elements to it. It just sounds so otherworldly and abstract, but in the best way possible. My only actual complaint with the album is that some of the ballad tracks sound pretty dated. They just sound like 80s ballads. But even then, afterwards, he will follow it up by just doing his own Prince thing and just getting very, you know, crazy and amping up the entire thing. It's even the bad tracks are good. But yeah, my favorite tracks definitely have to go to Purple Rain, Let's Go Crazy, as well as Computer Blue. I like those. So while I can't fit my entire thoughts on this album into a 3-minute TikTok, it's really incredible. It's probably one of the best albums I've done on this series so far. Rating-wise, I'm feeling a low to mid 9, somewhere right in there for me. Like and follow for more unless this app gets banned. Goodbye.